Welcome back to another epic coaching session on the Sports Speed Insider. And if you have not listened to the previous 2 weeks, then you need to, because we are getting into overspeed. We've looked at how to create speed with load or without load, and now we're looking at overspeed. And it's a really important construct to start to understand, and how we create overspeed is so important, and the reasons why. Because typically and traditionally, you would have been told that you shouldn't do overspeed. You should do overspeed as the last thing you should do. Just like depth jumps within plyometric activity, they are the thing that you need to avoid at all costs, because they're so potent, they're so intense that it will make any athlete explode when they touch them. But it's not quite the case, because context is always important. So we need to look at how to use overspeed, when to use overspeed, and why to use overspeed. If you're familiar, and you must be by now, with the ideology that I adopt with regards to developing speed inside the sports speed system for team sport athletes, is understanding that running is just another form of load. Creating specialized exercises and specific exercises of those is how we develop load specifically, ironically. And we are here to look at the specification of ground contact times as one element of overload. So let me blow up what we the diagram that we've been looking at over the last couple of weeks, and the programming considerations. So yes, you may say, Sam, you just said that the assisted and overspeed sprinting is for the most advanced athletes. Yes, I have. And it is true that if we are going to load, now think about this for a second, if we are going to load maximum velocity, so creating supramax velocity, so 110% of speed, do you think it's a good idea that that individual has a really good solid training history with regards to speed? Absolutely. They need to have developed their early stages of transfer for that level of specificity that we want. So we have talked through learning to speed, training to sprint, and how this fits with overspeed. Think about your conjugate sequencing model and the early elements of it. Okay, really simple, because we have to take a pinch of salt with how deliberately we apply this stuff. Because if you didn't want your athletes to do overspeed variations of any direction, then you would make them play on a flat pitch. Just think about it for a second. Every athlete, apart from in the professionals, will play in a pitch with some form of decline or incline. So, they are prepared. There is some level of understanding. And so, let's just, as always, take a pinch of salt, think about what we're doing, take a deep breath, and it's going to be okay. We just have to put context and classification around everything that we do. So, decline running and toad sprint variations. So, these are the typical models and typical modalities that you've seen for overspeed sprinting. You have people running down hills, and then you've got people using tools like 1080s or towing bands or anything like that, or any other motorized stuff, and they're great. Now, what I would like to do is understand what happens to the body when we start to use overspeed. So if we look at the drill stacking model, you should be really familiar with by now, is we need to look at segment, movement, pattern, skill. So inside the segment, the segmental activity within the task that we're trying to achieve, if we use overspeed, what is that going to do? So a lot of team sport athletes actually really struggle to express speed in early hip extension. They really do. We think that it's a front side frequency issue. Okay, but what is the step before that? Literally the step before that. We can only flex what we extend. So it's reciprocal. So we need to learn to do that a little bit faster. And a big part of speed is learning how to do things faster, not necessarily doing things faster. We have to learn how to do things faster as a neurological process as well as a physical process. So when we adopt this, we've got our classification, we've got our conjugate sequencing, and we've got our drill stacking. So how I like to do this, okay, is in a really simple way. So where I progress my wall drills, and we know they're specialized exercises. So in acceleration, we'll take this as an acceleration situation. So what I will do is I will overspeed. So if we take any example, any wall drill, the simple one for you to understand is going to be we're getting into our front side. So single leg load and smash. And what I want you to do is put a band around your foot, okay, that's going to get into our front side position. Okay, we're going to start in our bilateral squat position and we're going to extend up to 1. If you've seen the exercise progression manuals, you know this. This is our first progression. We go from a deep squat, bang, into 1, and we split. So what we can do is we can band the leg that's going forward, vis-a-vis creating an overspeed action. What it's going to do is going to smash our leg forward as fast as we can, and we have to drive our hip to get there. So that is going to give us an overspeed variation as well. And also simple overspeed, an initial overspeed that you can do with your athletes is a banded kettlebell swing. Overspeed starts conditioning the hip and hamstrings, lower back for overspeed. Then we can use the specialized exercises approach and interact with the motor learning quality. So you don't scaremonger around things, it's just understanding it. So then when you think about that as a simple activity, there's a great plethora of opportunities that you have to use overspeed. And the way that you want to dose it is, because it is supramaxal, we have to use it sparingly, absolutely. It will be used within a 20-day period. So we'd probably get 2 to 3 exposures of it over 20 days before some form of event. If that's in season as well, you could dose this in weekly over a 4-week period, okay, for 1 to 2 exercises, and then boot it out of the program. And you just basically swap out all the accessory stuff at the bottom and replace this stuff with it at the top. A very, very simple model. This stuff is not complicated. We make it complicated by trying to do too many things at one time. So there is that way of doing it. So that is just from a segmental approach. Then from the movement approach, again, the pattern approach, you can then again progress those wall drills in the same way. Just by creating overspeed, we can create overspeed around the hip the way that we create resistance around the hip. You just put the band in the opposite way. So we expose the force pairing. And if you don't understand force pairings too much, go back and read chapter 2 of the Sport Speed book system, because it's all about the physics of it, and we manipulate force pairings all the time. So it's a good thing to be understanding that. So we've taken that. Now we want to speed up the center of mass with external resistance, okay, to improve our athletes' acceleration performance. That's what we're doing. And we don't even have to use resistance. Remember, look at this. We can just use decline running. So we just find a little hill, okay, just a simple hill. And all that you have to do is do exactly the same as you would with a resisted modality, just the other way around. Very simple. Because when we do resisted stuff, it's forcing us to overcome. So we're balancing the force side of the impulse equation. The other side is the time. So if we're going down a hill, we're going to be instantaneously moving faster without any external loads. We have to move our legs faster. And that's all that it is. That's all that we are trying to expose. What I would say, and I would advise, is cap 25% of volume off the top, because we're looking at much more of a tenderness response and a systemic stiffness response as opposed to a force-driven response. So it is going to carry a little bit more juice. So that's the next way of doing it in acceleration. If we want to do it with maximum speed or developing top speed, or even if we can accelerate really well to 5, but then our 5 to 15 is really rubbish, we can use a light bungee, very simple, like a light bungee that you would use to tie a bike up. You can buy rolls of it, like 30 meters of it for about £5. you can just use a really light one of those, strap it around an athlete's waist and tow them through the first 5 just to speed up that first 5 to help unlock the speed in the 5 to 10 and 10 to 15. We can use that modality and it works great, really good. You can also, as an extensive means, you can use Overspeed for towing for drills, because we know that they're discrete means of plyometrics. And if we're getting just towed faster across the ground, we've got to move our legs faster. We've got to put force through the ground faster. We can prep faster. And that is a great way of doing it. If you can tow someone out on a long acceleration, as I would do, is really a good peaking way out of learning to sprint, because we can get someone just doing those 40 to 50 meter build-ups, but towed by someone else doing a resisted 40 meter build-up, 40, 50 meter build-up, gently at the same cadence, just putting a little bit of flex. They're working together and we're starting to build up speed. So really interesting one today. And I want you to go away and start, again, implementing, practicing. Plan out a 4 to 5 week cycle of how you would build Overspeed, because the goal is to use it, to then come back to it, use it to realize motor output, force output, and then come back to it. Okay, you get rid of it, you come back to it. Multi-cycle approach is the way you're going to unlock everything. So that's it for today. Get out, get practicing, and I will see you on the next coaching session.